If you're planning to start selling on Amazon this year, I've put together a really simple getting started checklist to help you make sure you haven't missed anything important. It's the list I wish I had when I first began, and it covers the key things you need in place before you list your products on Amazon. You can download it for free and the link is in the show notes.
Welcome to the Bring Your Product Idea to Life podcast. This is the podcast for you if you're getting started selling products or if you'd like to create your own product to sell. I'm Vicky Weinberg, a product creation coach and Amazon expert. Every week, I share friendly, practical advice as well as inspirational stories from small businesses. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to this episode of Bring Your Product Idea to Life. So today I want to talk about Amazon Seller Central and why it is such a pain for independent brands. So something I hear all the time is, I'm doing everything I should be doing, but Amazon is still hard. It's confusing, things aren't working. It's the bane of my life. I hear variations on this all the time. And so I want to start this episode, if this sounds like something you might have said, by reassuring you that this really isn't you. If Amazon feels overwhelming, I promise it's a them problem, not a you problem, because Amazon is really overwhelming. Hopefully, you know, if you've listened to me talk or you've seen me on social media, that I really care about helping sellers become successful. And if you're a small team or maybe it's just you and Amazon is one of many, many things you're juggling, I think this episode is going to be really useful for you. We all know that Amazon isn't intuitive. It's not like they offer any kind of training. Don't get me started on the support. It's a hard place. And in this episode, I'm going to hopefully make it a little bit easier for you. So to give you a little bit of context, I first used Amazon Seller Central around 10 years ago when I was selling my own brand of baby products. And that's what got me started on Amazon. And I can tell you, honestly, it hasn't actually changed that much in those 10 years. Yes, there are a couple of new features. There are some things look a little bit different, but actually it is pretty much the same. And so today I'm going to talk about why Seller Central feels so hard to use. So like the historical reasons why it is as it is, especially when you're not a big brand with a big team behind you that's got like some dedicated resource to put into Amazon. And I'm also going to share some really practical things you can do to make it feel a bit more manageable. I'm going to share my own experience, some thoughts on why it is what it is. And yeah, hopefully by the end, you'll be feeling a little bit more reassured and just perhaps a bit more confident about when you have to go into Seller Central and complete any tasks. So I'm going to start with why Seller Central it feels or is so difficult. And the first reason is it was actually built with a different purpose. I did a bit of research and I found out, because I didn't actually know this, that Seller Central was originally built back in the early 2000s for large catalogue sellers. So this is people who are uploading hundreds or thousands of products at a time. So all of its features, its language, the workflows, everything was designed accordingly. And lots of the settings and options and even the terminology used was assuming prior knowledge. And it also was assuming there would be a dedicated resource from a brand who would know how to use the system. So independent brands were never the primary user it was designed for. And I guess that shows. The second reason is it was built for scale and not simplicity. So Amazon prioritizes systems that work across every country, every category, every seller type, where possible. So instead of making Seller Central easy, it's quite rigid, it's quite rules driven, it's process heavy, and it's automated wherever possible. So this might look like really rigid processes, like forms that are a bit over engineered, irrelevant questions. So for example, true story, last week I was uploading a towel for somebody and I had to input whether it had a plug or not. I know that sounds really random, but it's true. And of course, while I'm saying that it's they prioritize things that work everywhere, of course there are still differences in different countries due to different legislation and compliance laws, so that makes it even more confusing. So Amazon basically has the one system. Well, there's Vendor Central as well, but let's just take Seller Central for now. They have the one Seller Central system that they need it to work for everything. And that is why it can often feel that it doesn't make sense for your product or your brand, because there are always going to be some things that just are not relevant for you. And rather than stripping all of those out, a lot of Seller Central is as vague as possible. The other reason you might find it quite unmanageable is that it's been layered and not redesigned. So what I mean by this is, as I said earlier, it looks pretty similar to how it did 10 years ago. Yes, there have been some very small changes, but, as someone who's been using it day in, day out for 10 years, it hasn't actually changed as much as you think it would. And what's been happening is features and tools, menu items have been added on top of what was already there, and nothing's been fully redesigned. So this is why you might get duplicate areas. You might be able to get to something from two different ways. There are settings that are hidden or quite hard to find. There are bits that don't join up. So one real example of this is the subscribe and save dashboard. I don't know if you've noticed, but you can't actually get there from any menu item. There's no menu item that will take you directly to subscribe and save dashboard. The only way to find it is to search, and you have to do that every single time. Makes absolutely no sense. Its next reason is Seller Central was built by engineers and not educators. So Seller Central was designed to be used by technical teams, as I said, dedicated resources, uploading lots of products, and it was built by technical teams. And their assumption at the time was, we'll give you every possible setting, we'll give you every possible option, we'll give you every rule, and you'll work out what you need. So they're providing features, and there's a lot you can do within Seller Central. And I don't know if you've looked into every single menu item and every single page. It's vast. There is so much there. But what is actually relevant to you? You may not be able to answer that because pages are cluttered, instructions can be vague, sometimes labels contradict each other, sometimes the information you're asked to input contradicts each other, and importantly, there's no guided onboarding. There's no way when you first log in to actually go, okay, now what do I do? Because none of that's provided, because it's assumed that you're just going to figure it out yourself. And, that's tricky. And sort of like carry on from that, Amazon assumes that sellers will learn by doing, and they expect that the way you will learn how to use Seller Central is through trial and error, which might be fine for, as I said earlier, if you've got a really big team and you've got a dedicated Amazon resource who's got some Amazon experience. But if it's just you or you and a small team and you've got so many other things to manage in your business, you don't really have the time to figure out how to do something really simple in Seller Central. And the support just isn't there to help you, which is why I think it can really feel exhausting, because what you really need is a bit of context, some step-by-step guidance. So start here, this is what you do next, and a bit of reassurance that actually you're doing the right things. And none of this Seller Central offers. And then the final thing, let's talk a bit about seller support, a hot topic of mine. You might have heard me talk about seller support before. Seller support, and one of the, I don't always feel that warmly towards Amazon seller support. But in their defense, one of the reasons support maybe isn't as good as it always could be is sometimes they can't actually see what you're seeing. So they can't log into your account as you and see the exact issue you're having, which is why, one of the reasons why, sometimes you'll find like you're getting an answer to the wrong question or a question you haven't even asked. Sometimes the scripts feel quite generic because they're trying to tailor it to like a similar situation, or they're trying to sort of guess what the issue is. And sometimes what you're being shown on screen and what you're actually asked for can conflict. And that is really, really frustrating, because what you need is clarity, and often you don't get that. So if any of that resonates with you, firstly, you're not alone. And secondly, I hope this gives you some reassurance as to why Seller Central feels as it does. As I said at the outset, it's nothing to do with you and your lack of knowledge or experience or how you're managing the system. It's just, in my opinion anyway, it's not simple, it's not intuitive, and it's not supportive. There's no easy way to navigate through it. There's no sort of onboarding, there's no tutorials or any of those things that would be super, super helpful when you're setting up on a new platform. So now let's talk about some of the things that will actually help you, some of the things you can do to make managing Seller Central a little bit easier without being completely overwhelmed. And you don't have to do any of these or all of these. This is just some advice. If some days you're like, I can't even bear to log in because it's just too much, I know it's going to annoy me, maybe try some of these. First thing is, I would suggest limiting what you try and do in one go. So if you've got half an hour today to do something in Amazon and you've got a big list of things that you need to do, my advice would be just pick one, do that, Whether it's today, I'm just going to update my product listings, I'm going to update my images, I'm going to check my stock and maybe set up an FBA shipping plan, whatever it is, go do the most important thing and then leave it and then come back tomorrow and do the next thing. As someone who spends hours and hours in Seller Central, honestly, on a daily basis, I can tell you that even I will do this. If I log in, I'm logging in with a purpose. There's something I'm going to do, and I'm going to do that thing, and then I'm going to leave, and then I'm probably going to log back in for somebody else and do something else, and then I'm going to leave, because it can be a real time drain. And also, what you don't want to do is lose time getting stuck in rabbit holes or trying to do something that isn't working, getting frustrated, especially if you need to deal with seller support. So, for example, I'm dealing with a case at the moment for somebody, and I really know that I think the best way for me to deal with it will be to get on the phone. I don't have time today at the time of recording, so I've actually put in my diary tomorrow that I'm going to get on the phone with them and deal with that issue. But today, I didn't have time to do that. Today, I did what I could. I sent an email. I had something else to do in the same account. And I left it there knowing that I need like a good block of time to actually go in and deal with the issue properly. So that's going to be tomorrow, because you can find that Amazon takes up so much of your time. And of course, you've got lots of other things to do. My second advice is to focus on the things that really matter. So the fundamentals, having really, really great product listings that are well optimized for search, that talk all about for all the things I talk about all the time, that explain to somebody why they should buy your product, how it would benefit them. That's really important. Great images, some A+ content, maybe a good store if you've got a range of products. That's one of the basics. Making sure your price makes sense. We've spoken about pricing a lot before, so I'm not going to go into great detail, but just make sure you're happy with your pricing. Make sure your inventory's in a good state. You haven't got too much stock. You haven't got not enough. You're not about to go out of stock anytime. Those are the things that are really important. And of course, if you're running ads as well, it's really important to keep an eye on your ads and make sure the spend just isn't running away with you, and how your ads are performing. So those are the things that I would say are really important and need checking regularly. Although, a little caveat to that, yes, you need to be checking your inventory on a regular basis. Yes, you need to be checking your ads on a regular basis. You do not need to be updating your listings on a regular basis. You do need to make sure, as I say, you've got great product listings. But once you do not feel the urge to go in every day, every week, or even every month and tweak them. Give them time. I think once a quarter is a good time to just check your listings, check your reviews. Is there anything that's come up in reviews that I've missed in my listing? Any feedback from customers? Am I getting a lot of returns on a product? Can I figure out why? Is there something I need to add in? But unless, you've had a branding change and all your images need updating, unless something has actually happened to, that means that you have to update your listing, my advice to you would be leave it alone. Focus on the things that you need to do within Amazon. And don't worry about every single report. Don't worry about every single tool. Don't think you need to be using every single feature. Just get the fundamentals right, first of all. Don't be tempted to continually tweak and change things, and just make sure you've got stock, your account is in good standing, and, and your ads are performing, and, you're off to a great start if you just do those things. So my third piece of advice is to keep your own notes or checklist or whatever works for you. So if you have been struggling to figure out how to do a task and then you do, write it down, put it somewhere, put it in your own words. If there's a page that you need to use regularly, maybe bookmark it. So for example, I mentioned the subscribe and save dashboard earlier. For one of my clients, well, actually for all of my clients, I do monthly reporting, but while it is standardized, some want something slightly different. And for one of the clients I work for, he wants an overview of how subscribe and save are performing. So basically how many customers are signed up for subscribe and save. Because that dashboard is so hard to find, in the actual report that I create, I've got a link that takes me straight there. So every month, rather than going into Seller Central and having to search for, I just click the link and I'm there. And I do that for any pages that I access really regularly. It's just helpful to save you trying to find out where things are again. It will also really help you if you ever have someone else complete tasks for you. So say you bring someone into your business, or you want to train up a team member, or you just want a bit of backup for days when you're not around, it's really useful if you've got notes that explain how to carry out tasks. So yeah, not only would it be useful for you, because let's face it, there are some things that you might only do every couple of months and then you have to do it again and you think, how did I do that? You'll really thank yourself if you took the time to document it. So I would definitely recommend doing that. My fourth suggestion is to use Amazon's help content outside of Seller Central if you're finding you're just not getting where you need to from seller support. And actually, if it's a small issue you're having, you may even want to go there first. Because sometimes the external Amazon help pages are a bit clearer than the internal ones. You'd think they'd be an exact match. They're not always. Sometimes if you search on Google with Amazon Seller Central and then you put the issue, sometimes the little AI summary at the top will just give you a really good answer. And speaking of AI, ChatGPT or other AI software can also be good for this. I'm not saying, you need to be using AI for this, for anything at all. However, if this is something you are using, if it's a tool you are already using and comfortable with using, sometimes it can give you really useful answers. I had an issue just before Christmas where something weird was happening in someone's ad accounts, and I just could not figure out how to, something was happening automatically. And I was like, there are no plugins. I haven't given anything out. I just couldn't work out what was going on. And with the help of ChatGPT, who gave me lots of things to work through, I eventually got to the bottom of it. And I am sure, yes, it took me like half an hour going back and forward, but do you really think seller support would have solved this within half an hour? I'm really not sure. I think that would have been days, if not longer. So that can also be really worth it. And then my final piece of advice for dealing with Seller Central is to ask for help if you need it. So you can ask someone like myself, you can ask a peer, you can ask someone else selling on Amazon, but it can save you so much frustration to just reach out and ask. And if you ever do need support with anything Seller Central related, please just ask me. I know lots of brands you're all doing brilliant things, and you don't want Amazon admin just taking over your week, your day, your life. Please just ask me if you have any support. You can always reach out, vickyweinberg.com. I'm always so happy to answer any questions, because I know that Amazon can sometimes be like the hardest part of your day. I totally get that. And feeling overwhelmed with Amazon doesn't mean it's not working. Just for all the reasons I've outlined, it's just a really, really hard system to use because it wasn't built for you. And that's what it comes down to. So please do ask if I can ever support you with Amazon. I know if you're listening and you're feeling tired of it or frustrated, I totally get that. I've been there, and I speak to a lot of people as well who are there. But that is what I'm here for. So you can DM me. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. You connect with me there. You can email me. And also I have something really exciting coming soon that is really going to help you. So please carry on following the podcast. And if we're not already connected on social media, follow me there to find out more about what that is. This year, I am so determined to find as many ways as possible to offer really practical help for Amazon sellers, because I just know how hard it is. I see how hard it is. And I'm saying this as somebody who's really familiar with it. I'm in there all the time. And I have days where I'm like, how does this work? Why isn't this working? It's just, it is what it is. And I want to do all I can to support you. So yes, please do reach out. Please continue to follow the podcast, and keep your eyes and ears peeled for what's coming up next, because I think it is really genuinely going to help. So thank you as always for listening to this episode. I would love if you can share it with someone you think it might be useful with. I would love it if you could leave me a review. And if you're not already following the podcast, please do, so you get every new episode as it arrives. So thank you so much for listening, but I really appreciate you. You get to choose how you spend your time, and thank you for choosing to spend it with me. Have a lovely rest of your day whenever you are listening, and I will see you next week with another episode.
Thank you so much for listening right to the end of this episode. Do remember that you can get the full back catalogue and lots of free resources on my website, vickyweinberg.com. Please do remember to rate and review this episode if you've enjoyed it, and also share it with a friend who you think might find it useful. Thank you again, and see you next week.
Hi, this is just a little note. So if you've enjoyed this episode, or indeed any of the episodes, and you would like to, I don't know, buy me a coffee or something, you can actually now leave tips. So there's a link to how to do this in the show note. Of course, do not feel obliged to do this. This is a free podcast. This will always be a free podcast. But as I say, if you want to buy me a coffee, you can do that via the link in the show notes.